Hello, welcome again. Now let's take a look at the details. The Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, has described initial negotiations with the International Monetary Fund for a bailout program as collaborative. According to him, government is discussing debt restructuring plans with the fund to improve the country's credit ratings. Here is a report.
An IMF team arrived in Ghana in the last week of September 2022 to commence official discussions with government on a possible debt restructuring. Speaking at the signing of a $1.13 billion cocoa syndicated loan in Accra, Mr. Ofori-Atta announced that a government team will meet the IMF in Washington, D.C. in the coming weekend to continue the negotiations. He expressed optimism that government will sign a program that will help stabilize the economy and improve the country's balance of payment.
But we are very confident that the discussions that we are having with the fund will put us in the right landing zone. As we speak, we are in discussions, negotiations, and the bank and the ministry would go to Washington at the end of the week to continue with these discussions. So far, discussions have been very collaborative. I think we are getting to the point of understanding our debt sustainability numbers, and we'll come through with, I believe, what may be termed as an historic resolution to this as a demonstration to other countries on the continent.
Mr. Ofori-Atta reiterated that the ultimate aim of government in the negotiations is to protect Ghanaians from the negative impact of recent global challenges such as the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia invasion of Ukraine. Meanwhile, the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, is hopeful the $750 million Afrexim Bank loan and the cocoa syndicated funds will help strengthen the local currency.
We're all very concerned about the outlook for foreign exchange receipts and payments. There were two particular flows which we were looking forward to. The first one being the Afrexim loan of $750 million, and the second one, the cocoa syndication of $1.3 million. Today, both flows have materialized. And I think it gives a great reason to be optimistic about the outlook for the Ghanaian economy. We are very proud of the team at the Cocoa Board who have worked very hard in spite of the circumstances to bring us to this point.
Now, rating agency Moody's has downgraded Ghana's credit rating to deeper junk status. The rating downgrade, it said, reflects the recent deterioration of the country's macroeconomic environment, further heightening the government's liquidity and debt sustainability difficulties and increasing the risk of default. This is the second downgrade in a year and follows the recent downgrade of the country's rating also to further junk status by Fitch. But what are the implications for the economy? Joining us on Zoom now is economist Dr. Patrick Esuming with the University of Ghana Business School to help us analyze the situation. Good afternoon, Dr. Esuming. First off, what is accounting for these downgrades?
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to viewers. So I think it's pretty clear the deterioration of the macroeconomic environment really is the main factor. Since the last downgrade, things have actually gotten worse. The budget service ratio has gotten worse. Our debt situation has gotten worse. Government finances has not improved, and frankly, there's not much in terms of coming our way in terms of any improvement. And it appears that we are now waiting on the IMF program. So clearly, the macroeconomic environment has gotten worse since their last downgrade, and that's the reason for the downgrade.
I mean, that doesn't look good for us, but how severe are these downgrades on the Ghanaian economy?
In a sense, this has been coming. Once the other rating agencies started downgrading, you always knew that if there's another review by the Moody's, it was going to be a downgrade. Because they are all looking at the same economic data. They are looking at the same type of information. So in terms of whether this was unexpected, I would say no. It's something that we all expected. The downgrade is reflecting the situation that we all knew. So in that sense, you might say that it's not completely surprising. The information provided and the analysis done also is something that is known to us. So I think what is the outlook that they kind of provide suggests that there might be a further downgrade if we go ahead with the debt restructuring. So it appears that there will be more downgrade coming up. So in essence, I don't think this in itself changes our position too much, because I think the investor confidence in the economy has been low for a long time. So I don't think that this particular downgrade in and of itself will change too much.
But in your perspective, do you think that managers of the economy have lost touch in turning around the economy, or the IMF is the only savior?
That part has been a little surprising. It appears that we are not really doing anything else apart from waiting for the IMF program. And I think that's been quite surprising, because the IMF program will not address all our difficulties. It won't address all the difficulties of the Ghanaian economy. So in essence, you would have expected that some other things, some other programs in terms of challenges facing some of the productive sectors, in particular agriculture, and even some of the government's own flagship programs that are not doing very well at the moment. You would expected that there will be some clear direction in terms of what else we are going to do beyond the IMF program to improve those. So it's been surprising that we haven't seen much. And even the IMF program, the program that is being discussed, it's difficult to know exactly what the government is, what specifics government is negotiating with the IMF. Unlike the last time we went, where there had been widespread public engagement about what our policy alternatives are. This time hasn't been the case. So there's very limited information in terms of what specifically we might get in terms of the program, but also, what else we are going to do. Because I would have thought that we would have come up with a whole program in terms of bringing back the economy, and the IMF program would have been one part of it, but that hasn't happened.
But what other programs do you think we can do, or what other initiatives do you think that governments can put in place to sort of bring some, light into the economy? So,
if you analyze what is happening to the real sector of the economy, even though the last growth numbers show that there's been some improvement, that improvement is very marginal. And it doesn't put us where we should be at this point. Coming from the very low growth we saw in 2020 during the COVID. So, we need to see. The government itself had its own agenda. There's an agenda to improve agriculture, and there's an agenda to boost industrialization. It appears that we've let those programs go out, and then we are too concerned about fixing public finances and then restoring macroeconomic stability. But that is only a means. So what is the end? When we get there, what are we going to do? What specifically are we going to do to improve food production, to improve the food distribution network? And where are we in terms of the agro-processing manufacturing? And what are the weaknesses, and what are we going to do to solve those ones? So we need to situate whatever we are doing with the IMF within that broader context. What are we doing to improve their livelihoods, because we've had several cases where the macroeconomic indicators show maybe we are doing well, but then you see that we are not creating enough jobs, and average incomes are not going up as much. So what I'm saying is that we should have a broader program, a bigger program about how to structurally transform the economy. Even though I did hear the finance minister say something about that, but it's not too clear whether it's just changing the structure of government finances or changing the structure of the economy, making sure that the economy or job creation is more sensitive to economic growth than we currently have. So I think that is, for me, that is the part that has been quite disappointing, that I would have liked to see more.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patrick Asuming. He's an economist with the University of Ghana Business School. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. Now, away from that, more oil marketing companies are adjusting prices of petroleum products at the pumps. This is in line with a 2-week review of prices on the global market. Now, most of the major oil marketing companies have reduced the price of diesel, but have increased the price of petrol. However, some consumers have raised concerns about the mixed price review. So joining me on Zoom is Michael Buzombil, Chief Executive of the oil marketing firm Petrosol. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. I hope I didn't butcher your name. Thank you so much for your time.
You're most welcome. That's okay.
So first off, has Petrosol also reviewed its prices at the pumps?
Yes, we have. We reduced diesel prices. It's petrol that has gone up a little bit. Yeah, that's the situation now.
But what went into these adjustments?
Yes, the major issue has to do with the exchange rate, the cedi depreciating. I think that's the key point, because on the international market, both products have witnessed some reduction, but the diesel has witnessed a much greater reduction than the petrol. So it means a small reduction in the petrol has been overtaken by the depreciation of the cedi. So this is the key issue.
But Mr. Michael, some are saying that looking at the current developments on the world market, there should have been a reduction for all the products and not some.
Yes, I think they have a legitimate concern. But as I'm saying, the products do not just travel from the international market to the pump, and being sold to the Ghanaian consumer in dollars. So even though the prices may drop, on the international market in dollar terms, if you are now exchanging it to cedis, and the cedi hasn't remained the same, it means that could affect the local pricing. So usually when the increase in the international price is significant enough to wipe off the cedi depreciation, that is when you see the reduction reflecting on the local market. And as I said, in the case of diesel, because the reduction in the diesel prices on the international market was significant, and so that led to prices reducing on the local market. However, in the case of petrol, where the reduction was very minimal, and then the cedi also depreciated, so the rate of depreciation was even much more than the reduction in the price on the international market. So eventually, it ends up witnessing some slight increase on the local market.
So what do you have to tell those who will argue that oil marketing companies keep shifting goalposts when it comes to reduction of prices?
Yeah, for me, I think I can speak for Petrosol, my company. We have kept faith with the consumer. Whenever prices have to go down, we've passed that to the consumer by reducing prices. When legitimately prices have to go up, we do so. In fact, there is one thing that we don't talk about. So mostly we concentrate on the international price and then also the CD exchange rate. But there's also the element of the cost of doing business in terms of the working capital. So for instance, if you look at the beginning of the year where the prices were, and now we need more than twice the working capital we're using to do our business. But we have tried as much as possible to even maintain our margins so that the cost does not pass on to the consumer. And I'm speaking in respect of Petrosol. So some of us try as much as possible to look at the challenges that the consumers face in the market and try to be considerate in our pricing.
Thank you so much, Mr. Michael Buzombo, who is CEO of Petrosol, for your time here on Marketplace. Now, away from that, the Cybersecurity Authority is making a strong case for businesses to set aside about 15% of their budgetary allocation to fighting digital crime. This has become necessary to protect businesses against growing incidents of cyber crimes across the world. Acting Executive Director for the Cybersecurity Authority, Dr. Albert Ntwi-Boasiako, made the call in an interview with Joy Business after addressing stakeholders at the launch of the 2022 Cybersecurity Awareness Month.
The issue of funding for cybersecurity activities has been a challenge in Ghana and some parts of Africa due to budgetary concerns. The call for allocation of some funding has become critical at this moment for both public and private sector organizations as cybercrime continues to increase and thereby becoming a threat to national economies. Dr. Albert Ntwi-Boasiako is positive that this year's Awareness Month will be used to solicit public support against the menace.
That is the perspective, the forward-thinking approach of looking at dealing with the issue. I had to touch on the organizational level because we have businesses who also need to take their responsibility. And the case I was making here is this. If you're a business, depending on the nature of your business, is it a fintech, is it a financial institution, is it e-commerce, is it just a public sector even institution? Once you begin to think of adopting an ICT investment, digitalization, or any digital project you need to undertake, between 15% to 25% should be dedicated to cybersecurity. So if you are investing in $1 million USD, then the expectation is you can calculate the amount of money at the minimum level, 250,000 of that figure should go into cybersecurity investment. That is the starting point. Of course, it depends. If you are a financial institution and you are doing online banking, it means you need to increase it possibly to about half.
Deputy Minister for Communications and Digitalization, Amapoma Boateng, told journalists that government is exploring other means to ensure funding for the Cybersecurity Authority.
With the law, we had earmarked certain ways of generating funds to support the Cybersecurity Authority. Recently, one of the areas that we're looking at was the possibility of having access to some of the e-levy funds to support the ecosystem. But unfortunately, things haven't gone as planned. So aside the various monies that come in, we need a structured, a dedicated fund to have for security issues or to have for cyber, so that it's not when issues come up that we have to quickly start looking for money to support the system.
The authority also used the occasion to sign a memorandum of understanding with Mozambique and Rwanda on fighting cybercrime.
Government has indicated that it is ready to engage various stakeholders and the private sector within the liquefied petroleum gas industry to scale up its rural LPG promotion program. According to Minister of Energy, Matthew Opoku Prempeh, constructive dialogue is necessary to sustain the program and support its purpose of reducing the consumption of firewood in rural areas. He was speaking at the 3rd West Africa LPG Expo.
The Rural Liquefied Petroleum Gas Promotion Program aims at encouraging rural folks to switch off from wood fuel to LPG for cooking and other purposes. According to Matthew Opoku Prempeh, government is bent on achieving the needed results.
The ministry is partnering with the World Bank Group to support and scale up the program, and we are open to other nations in supporting us to achieve our 50% agenda. The ministry has constituted a steering committee for LPG for Development program to coordinate and provide direction for the implementation of the CRM and the LPG promotion program. Utilization of LPG as a household fuel has been expanded in several West African countries since the early 1990s, but the average per capita consumption in the region remains low by international standards.
Chief Executive Officer for the National Petroleum Authority, Dr. Mustafa Hamid, called for a collective effort to address challenges confronting the LPG industry in Ghana.
I therefore call on all of us to be vigilant in helping all of us to stamp out these practices and to promote the use of safe LPG. To remedy the situation, the government of Ghana in October 2017 launched the National LPG Promotion Policy with the objective of ensuring that at least 50% of Ghanaians have access to LPG for domestic, commercial, and industrial use by 2030. The policy is to be driven by the new marketing and distribution model, which we call the cylinder recirculation model.
The third West African LPG Expo is designed to create a platform for the local and international LPG community to gather, network, and discuss various issues in West Africa, and also create new business opportunities in the region.
Managing Director of CalBank PLC, Philip Oredu, has underscored the need for practical digital education if the country wants to achieve its digitalization agenda. He says technology is a major driver of development in the world, and for Ghana to fully achieve its digitalization agenda, much effort should be made in ensuring practical technological education. Mr. Oredu has been speaking at the opening of a new ICT lab built by CalBank with technical support from TechAid for the Seventh-day Adventist Demonstration Basics course in Koforidua Asokore in the Eastern region.
Addressing the press at the opening of a new ICT lab built by CalBank with technical support from TechAid for the Seventh-day Basic Schools in Koforidua Asokore in the Eastern region, Managing Director of CalBank, Philip Oredu, said for Ghana to achieve her technological agenda, the country needs to pay critical attention to practical ICT education. Thus, he believes will improve digital literacy and offer students with the needed digital skills.
Digitalization globally as what is driving development now. In every aspect of life, be it health, be it education, be it financial services, whatever you can talk about, technology is what has become the driver. And in our agenda as a nation in trying to ensure that we digitalize most of whatever we do in this country, it is important that everybody in the nation would have that feel of what ICT is about. So this lab for us is to support the community in here to make sure that we have the first kind of feel of what technology is about, what it brings to them, enhance their knowledge, which will then support the national agenda which the government has.
Chief Executive Officer of TechAid, Kafui Prebi, said corporate support by way of provision of tools like computers and ICT labs will expose you to the learning of digital skills, which will in turn boost digital literacy in Ghana.
The government has provided the framework, which is always what they do. And they have set the process in place by, indicating and setting up a few of these facilities across the country. However, we as individuals and the citizens of Ghana who are interested in supporting bringing this digitalization have to do our own part. And this is what we are taking, partnering with other institutions like CalBank, have decided to provide the tools. Now, technology cannot be learned in a vacuum. It's a skill, and people need tools to learn it. So without the skills, we can preach all we want, but this facility is providing the access to the tools of technology. And I think this is an initiative that, because the framework exists, we all shall latch on as corporate Ghana and individuals to support and provide the tools for the betterment of our kids' education so that we can compete globally.
The 40-seater computer lab, which comes with various educational software, will aid teaching and learning as well as offer practical ICT lessons for the students and the community as a whole.
And that's your marketplace this afternoon. Thank you so much for your company. But for more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Beverly Broom, and I leave you with Money Lab.
Hello there. Welcome to Money Lab. My name is Yvonne Seshi. Last week, we spoke about overdrafts and how it can be used by businesses to meet their short-term liquidity needs and improve their working capital. Today, we'll look at term loans and how businesses can use their term loans to fund their activities. A business term loan is a lump sum of money you borrow from a lender, then pay back at fixed intervals with interest over a set period of time. Depending on the type of structure, you'll be required to make repayments on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis. In most cases, term loans are used to finance capital expenditure, such as equipment, and in some cases, term loans can be used to finance operational expenditure. Many thanks for watching.